There are three things that you need to know if you want to create effective, high converting, and profitable Facebook ads. First, you need to nail the message marketing match. Get this wrong, and it doesn't matter how funny or smart and creative your ads are, they're not going to work. Next is something called the 40-40-20 rule. Every great direct response marketer and advertising legend lives and dies by this rule, but don't worry if you've never heard of it before. Most people haven't. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to use this with your Facebook ads. And third, you need to use something called the marketing rule of 7, and not just with your Facebook ads either, but with all of your advertising and marketing and everything you do from this day forward. Use it and profit. Don't use it and don't profit. So let me show you how it's done, starting with the ever important message marketing match. Want to know the biggest reason that Facebook ads don't work? Well, the biggest reason that Facebook ads don't work is not because they chose the wrong campaign objective or the wrong placement or wrong budget or anything related to the actual setup of the Facebook ad campaign. The reason that most ads don't work is because they're saying the wrong things to the wrong people. In other words, the offer they're making is either unrelated or unappealing. An unrelated message means that they're making an offer that people just don't really care about, trying to sell something in a way that just doesn't resonate with the pains and the problems and fears and frustrations of the market. This is often the result of spending too much time on the features and the actual tangible things that they're going to be getting rather than on the benefits and the outcomes of and all the results of how their life is going to be better after making this purchase. An unappealing message is simply a message that's packaged wrong rather. In other words, it's boring. It doesn't do anything to catch someone's attention, so they don't stop to read it. And if they do stop, well, they just don't care. And it wastes your money. And so money is getting wasted by putting these boring and uninteresting and irrelevant messages in front of people and then wondering why nobody's buying it. It sounds harsh, I know, and I don't want to be the bad guy, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to. But there is a solution that comes with this form of message marketing match. And the message marketing match is exactly what it sounds like. And it means matching your message to your market. But obviously, there's a little more than that. Essentially, message marketing match, also commonly known as message to market match, is really just a way of making sure that you've done your homework and that you're researched and what your target audience is. You figured out what their pains and their problems are and their fears and their frustrations, and whether or not you're selling what you're selling is well positioned to help solve that for them. Get it right and people buy. Get it wrong and they don't buy. And this is one of my favorite things about marketing and advertising, is that it's a literal case study of human behavior. After all, people say things about how they think they are or how they would like to be, but at the end of the day, money talks, and what people choose to buy and how they spend their time are two powerful indicators of what someone really values, right? So if your ads aren't working and people aren't clicking on them or signing up or buying them or anything like that, well, it's simply because they don't see the value in what you're offering. So it's your job as the marketer and as the advertiser to show them that value. And the best way to do that isn't by shoving it down their throats, but rather to show them that you understand where they're coming from, that you understand their problems, and that you possibly have a solution they might be interested in. And I wish I could remember who told me this quote so I could give them credit. But one of my favorite sayings is that customers don't buy when they understand, they buy when they feel understood. Okay, next. So I'm going to give you the secret sauce and the special ingredients that really separate the amateurs from the pros when it comes to creating high converting and profitable Facebook ads. So next is the 40-40-20 rule. The 40-40-20 rule shows the breakdown of the three main elements that are responsible for your ad success. So 40% to your market, 40% to your offer, and 20% to your company. So let me unpack those for you now. 40% of the success of your advertising campaign is going to come down to your market and understanding of them, right? So your ability to identify and locate them and make sure that you're putting the right message directly in front of them. Fortunately, Facebook's targeting options are pretty amazing, so the ability to find them and get right in front of them is easier than ever. As for coming up with the right message and the right hook, the right angle, and the right irresistible offer, and how those all fit together, that's where you're going to need to do a bit of heavy lifting. And the next 40% of the equation comes down to your offer. What are you offering? And is it irresistible enough to get them to pay attention? Is it relevant enough that they're going to be interested and want to click and read and ultimately buy it, right? And the last 20% is your copy and your creative. And this is essentially the words that you use, the images, the videos, if you're running a video ad. All of the designs and the way that you structure things as well, and the words that you say, right? As a general rule, the more competitive your market is, the more persuasive and influential and more heavy hitting your copy is going to need to be, right? So the 40-40-20 rule is incredibly powerful because, like all things in marketing, it gets to the roots of what's really important, which is your customers and their problems and your solutions to those problems. And way too many advertisers get this completely backwards and spend too much time on fancy words and pretty pictures rather than getting to the core of their audience's pains and how they're able to best serve them. There's even some situations and, with certain target markets where an overly produced ad and an overly polished message actually turns people off and has the complete opposite effect and will lose an ad that looks like it was, made in lose to an ad rather that looks like it was made in MS Paint in 1985, right? But there's another thing you can do or must do if you want to turn your campaigns into real winners. And that is to leverage the power of the marketing rule of 7. First, some history. The marketing rule of 7 was first introduced to the movie industry back in the 1930s, where studio bosses discovered that it took around 7 touch points or interactions with a potential customer to get them to see a movie. And this became kind of a rule in marketing. And if you want to produce, or if you wanted a product or a service or a business to succeed, you want to make sure that your prospect heard your advertising message at least 7 times before expecting them to take any kind of action. And I like this rule for 2 reasons. First of all, it resets someone's expectations when it comes to advertising. After all, one of the most frustrating, albeit completely understandable, parts of advertising is when I hear a newbie advertiser complain about the results that they're getting, or rather the lack of results they're getting from their campaign. Because more often than not, and upon closer inspection, it's usually because they've only been running these ads for a couple of days or only spent a couple dollars on them. Now, do you know whose fault that is? It's all about the internet marketing people from the early 2000s who oversold people to get on these get-rich-quick schemes and how they could make $1 million overnight with no work required. And that's not a real thing. In the real world, think of one other investment where you could put $1 in and get 10 back or $100 or $1,000 back, right? I mean, people would look at you like you're crazy, but with advertising, these are possible, but not right away and not for everyone, but they do happen. But when you're first getting started, a little bit of patience and a little bit of understanding and maybe even a little bit of humility are going to go a long way, because advertising is a skill and skills can be learned, but it's a skill that's going to take a little bit of training and a little bit of time. Now, don't get me wrong, the purpose of advertising, of running an ad, is 100% to make money. Otherwise, why are you doing this? But it's also important to approach this with a little bit of sensibility and common sense. These are kind of the same thing, but the second reason I like to give the marketing rule of 7 so much, or that I like it so much, is because it gives a benchmark and kind of a guide that I could shoot for and plan for and bake right into my marketing strategy. And this is why the best way to do Facebook advertising today is to run your ads and then follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up, and you get it. But do it in a way that doesn't break the bank. And fortunately, you can do it now easier than ever. The first way is my absolute favorite, which is to run a Facebook ad that takes someone off Facebook and puts them on your email list, where you can follow up with them again and again forever. And the next way is still good, and it involves running a Facebook ad and then creating a custom audience based on how someone engaged or interacted with your previous ad. For example, you can create a video ad and then create a couple of custom audiences based on people that watch it or watch 25%, 50%, or 75% of the aforementioned ad. And then you can follow up with those people through a second ad, which is going to be more cost effective because you're going to be advertising to a smaller audience. Not to mention, a smaller audience means more opportunities at repetitions and touch points and building a deeper and more human connection, right? But showing up in front of them even more and for free you definitely want to be taking advantage of all the other tools that Facebook gives you access to. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any other tips, leave them in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.